is Stephen Lachey, and welcome back to my channel. If you are returning, if you are new, thank you so much for tuning in. Hopefully you'll stick around, consider subscribing, all of you. And yeah, so as you can see by the title of the video, this is a very, or can be, a very triggering topic. So before I even get started on my thoughts and reasons as to why I'm child free and why I believe for certain reasons why people, or especially women, should be child free. Yeah. Before I even get started, let me just get this out the way. If you are someone who's easily triggered by child free people, especially women, then this may not be the video for you, because I'm probably going to say some things that you don't like. My opinions are my own. I'm not trying to change anyone's viewpoint, thoughts on it, or whatever. So if you want to stick around, then, and you want to comment on certain things, that's totally fine, just as long as you keep it respectful. You're respectful towards me, as well as anyone in the comment section who decides to respond, okay? Because what we're not going to have over here on my channel is disrespect, okay? So yeah, so if you do all those things, like if you get disrespectful for whatever reason, I will delete your comment. I will delete your comment, and I will block you. I don't really know how that works, because again, this is my second video of being in front of the camera, so I don't know how all that works. But I will find out. Yeah, so again, if this is something that triggers you, yeah, keep scrolling, or click off the video and go somewhere else, or keep it cute in my comment section. That's my thing. Keep it cute. Okay? So, now that that's out of the way, we can get started. So I've had my own thoughts on this particular topic. But as of recent, I've kind of gone down this sort of like rabbit hole, if you will, on here on YouTube, as well as on different platforms like TikTok, Instagram, and that sort of thing. And what am I trying to say? So I wanted to sort of add my 2 cents in and give my reasons as to why I'm choosing to be child free. Like, having a baby is not on my brain anymore, or at least it's not necessarily like a priority in my mind. And I'm gonna explain. I'm gonna get to why that is. But before I give those reasons, I want to say I was the type of person who wanted like at least maybe 2 kids, I guess. And I was very set on that, you know what I mean? But, with the current state of things, it just does not seem like a good idea. And it's unfortunate, but it is what it is. You know what I mean? And I really don't see an incentive for it, like a benefit of it, except to, keep women at a certain level, at a certain place. And it's just not for me anymore. So, and if you see me looking down to my left, I'm looking at my notes, because I do, whenever I do these, well, this is my second video, but whenever I do these little videos, I'm gonna look to the left or the right, whatever, and say my little reasons, have my notes, so I can try to have a flow to things, Okay, so number 1, the most important reason that I feel that, most important reason for me personally, and the most important reason that I think for other women. And again, this is not me trying to tell other women what they should be doing, what they need to do. No, this is just how I feel about it, if that makes sense. So when I say, I feel women should do this, you don't have to take my word for it. You know what I mean? I'm not expecting anyone else to take my word for anything. I'm just basically stating my opinion just like everyone else. Okay? So again, don't come for me in the comments section. Be, or even if you do, be respectful about it, okay? Because again, I'm not trying to change anybody's opinion about anything. This is just Stephanie Lachey's opinion and thoughts on the subject. Okay, so my number one reason is, women's health in this country, the US of A, is not prioritized at all. It's not taken seriously, and this is especially the fact for Black women. Okay, Black women have the highest maternal mortality rate than any other race or ethnicity of women. But I believe, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section, and I've written it in my notes, but I believe Indigenous women are right behind Black women, and that is followed by also Hispanic women, I believe. And again, people can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't have the exact stats, but you can easily look it up on Google, because I did, but I didn't write down the numbers. I just wrote down the groups, the way the groups broke down. And if you want me to put in matter of fact, I will do that. I'll put in the description box what the last or the most recent data shows, and I'll do that. So I'll matter of fact, let me make a note of that to put in data in the description box. Okay. Anyway, I like notes, and I like, especially when I'm discussing something, I want to make sure that I'm on point. And so, yeah, if you see me making little notes as I go along, then I will. So hopefully that doesn't bother anybody. But anyway, so yeah, women's health is not taken seriously. So, especially Black women, when Black women try to, even when they're like in severe pain and they're trying to advocate for themselves, or anyone else is trying to advocate for them, doctors don't listen. You have people walking around or running around here saying that Black people experience pain differently. We can tolerate more pain. You know what I mean? We can, our immune systems are different, and this type of nonsense, BS. And it's just simply not the case. You know what I mean? So, and this would be known if better study were to occur for our health than as Black people, but Black women especially, then things would be a lot better. But I understand it's intentional. It's a reason as to why our health as Black people, but Black women in general, as a whole, why it's not taken seriously. Because, for instance, and this is not even pregnancy. I can remember a time where I was having like a respiratory infection or something like that, and I literally felt like I could not breathe. And I can tell you, I went to multiple hospitals in the city that I was in at the time, and it wasn't until I got to the last hospital. Or actually, I don't even think that was a hospital. I think it was like some kind of like urgent care type thing, or some kind of clinic or something. And then I was given like, a steroid shot, and that helped. But the fact that I had to go from here to here to here, and no one was taking me seriously, is a big problem, a major problem. Okay, so yeah, Black women's health is especially not prioritized in this country. So that's the number one reason why I will not be having any kids. Okay. All right. So number two, honestly, pregnancy just looks unappealing. When I've had a chance to really think about it and look, because I watched, if you were like in in high school, we had the I forget what the class is called, whatever, like reproductive health or something like that. I can't remember the exact name of it. For whatever reason, it's escaping me right now. Sorry, y'all. Yeah, health or whatever, whatever that class is that we take. I don't know why it's escaping my brain right now. But anyway, when we look at reproductive health, I don't know about y'all, but we actually like in our books, in our textbooks, you could kind of see like how the baby is born and all that type of stuff. But also just on my own, I've watched birthing videos. Also, I was actually in the room with one of my younger sisters when she was having a baby, and I actually saw everything, everything. And so it's like, yeah, it just is unappealing, or it looks unappealing rather, because I never experienced childbirth, but it looks uncomfortable, and all of the I don't want to say side effects, but like the symptoms, like the throwing up when you have morning sickness, being just uncomfortable in your body, all the pain, all the things. Then you have to get like what do you call it, an epidural, if you are in extreme pain, and then you have the complications sometimes that can come with childbirth, and a lot of times it's blamed on the woman, like birth defects and all this other stuff, but no one takes into account that it could be the man's fault, because they can carry some genes that are not conducive to a fully healthy baby, if that makes sense. So there's a lot that goes into it, if that makes sense. And I just feel like it's just not something that I want to go through. It's just not. Anyway, so moving forward, and people can debate that number 2 point if they want. But for me, it's just, not for me. I don't even want, because I know some people, some women, they don't even, they had great pregnancies from what they tell me. It wasn't as hard as people make it seem like, and it's good for them. You know what I'm saying? I'm good for you all. I'm happy for you all. But yeah, just as much as I've heard, the stories, the good stories, I've heard the bad stories. And I don't even want the possibility of that happening. I don't even want to think about that. Okay, so moving on. Number 3. Kind of like going with number 1, but this is more so pertains to like social issues. So the current political climate, as well as economic reasons. There's no way I would raise a child in this country. I just would not. There's no benefit or reason why a child should be raised here. And that's just how I feel, especially for a Black child. You know what I'm saying? We already experience, racism, and I can say for myself, being someone who does have privilege, being a light-skinned person. So I don't nearly, experience the full lot, if you will, of racism. Some things do kind of fly past me because of that privilege. But I'm smart enough to realize that a lot of times we still experience racism, right? But to a larger, on a grander scale, people who are more brown than me are going to experience more racism. Okay? So if you're a child, depending on depending on their phenotype, they can experience even more racism, if that makes sense. But that's neither here nor there. The point is, raising a black child in this country, to me, is doing a disservice to them, And for me, if I could, the only way I would ever consider having a child is if I could live somewhere else. And even that is pushing it, because there's really nowhere on the planet that you won't experience racism as someone that is other than white, okay, or Caucasian, however you want to say it. Yeah, so do with that what you will. I just think having a child in this country, just does a disservice to them. That's just how I feel. I think children are beautiful. I love children. I do. I love to see them laugh. I love to see them happy, joyful, playing. I love to see them read and expand their minds. Like, I love all that. So I'm very much comfortable being auntie, if that makes sense. Being auntie, big cousin, whatever. But yeah, it's just, but the way that this country is set up, it's just not, I just don't think it's conducive to adequate child rearing, if that makes sense. Or this is not a good place to grow up or raise a child. That's just how I feel. Anyway, moving on. So number 4. And right here, number 4 and number 5, it may definitely trigger some people, mainly men. But I'm gonna say it anyway because I don't care, because it's just the reality of things. And again, just if you want to disagree, come into the comment section with some sense and some respect. If you do not, your comment is gonna be deleted, and I'm just gonna block you. Point blank, period. Because again, I'm not trying to change anybody's mind, but you can't come over here and change my mind. That's just how it is. But anyway, so number 4. The other thing with child raising or raising children is the fact that okay, hold on, I'm getting a little ahead of myself. But anyway, number 4, I've seen enough stories and situations within my own family as well as outside of my family, and being an outsider looking in, as well as again within my own family, and I'm going to try to be respectful when I say this, how men change once the woman is pregnant, So, and what I mean by this is that men can be so gung-ho and so happy about having a kid, and not all guys. I'm not saying every single man does this, but a large enough amount of you, or like hold on, because I'm stumbling over my words. It's Mercury retrograde, y'all, so you're going to have to forgive me for stumbling over my words. But anyway, I've seen enough stories and situations within my own family to know how men change. It's a large number of you that do this. So it's a what am I trying to say? It's too many not to notice, if that makes sense. It's too many for it, not to be a problem, especially when multiple people are talking about it. So it's a problem. Okay. You don't have to think it's a problem, but it is. So when I say men change, they can be so gung ho about having the baby, and all that stuff. But as soon as that woman gets pregnant and her body starts to change, you have some men who want to talk negatively about the mother of their kids when it comes to how their body looks. They can't necessarily do a lot of the things that they used to do. Some women do, will get up and go to work, try to do things around, like clean up around the house. And I'm like, yes, some women should be active, when they're pregnant. But to me, I just feel like women should be chilled out when they're pregnant. That's just how I feel. I just feel like they shouldn't have to lift a finger if they don't want to. You know what I mean? But a lot of times women have to go to work, have to tend to their house, tend to kids if they do have, already have kids, and tend to their significant other and spouse all at the same time. Same thing when because and the other point I wanted to make, a lot of times women will experience DV when they're pregnant. So women they're in their most vulnerable state when they're pregnant, and the people that or the person rather that is supposed to be there for them, protect them, treat them kindly, all the things, you should do that even without a woman being pregnant, but that's besides the point. But it's even more detrimental to her when she has to experience DV, when she has to experience, messed up treatment or bad treatment, especially when she's pregnant. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. And hopefully I'm not really talking in circles. I hope not. But I'm working through this. But anyway, I just feel like women should be treated like queens when they're pregnant. You know what I mean? And that's not always the case. So that's basically what I'm saying. So, and again, it's not all men, and it's not, all women don't experience a harsh pregnancy, but a large amount of them do. And that's a problem. Because if people are so, like, they're advocating, and right now you see how in this country, women's reproductive rights have been stripped, basically, with the overturn of Roe versus Wade. And, and they're essentially trying to force childbirth on women, but there's no, but they're actively stripping along with the stripping, women of their rights, reproductive rights. They're also stripping the programs and, or eliminating the programs and things put in place to assist pregnant women and children. So it's like, on one hand, it's like you want women to have all these babies, but you're not doing anything to protect those women or children. How does that make sense? Okay, so that's another point to this. Okay, and okay, so, and then, like, going on to number 5, the number 5, it's most of the responsibility of raising a kid falls on the mother, 9 times out of 10. It all falls on the mother. And, men, they can go out and work and provide for the family, provide for the kid, whatever. But at the same time, it takes more to raising a kid than just providing financially. Like you need to be in the home helping raise the kid too. You know what I mean? And again, some people may get triggered by that, and that's totally fine. Just be respectful. But yeah, I just don't. It goes back to there not being a benefit for women to me having kids in this current state of the world, or more importantly, the U.S. There's just not a benefit to it because all of the work in raising the kid, so the woman has to have the kid, go through all that. No, hold up, let me back up. She has to go through the pregnancy, have the baby, and then raise the child by herself, basically. Yes, there can be, men can contribute by providing financially, but it still falls on her most of the time. 9 times out of 10, it's going to fall on her. And I just don't see a benefit in that. That's just how I feel. Because I think, excuse me, I've seen this a couple of times. Well, I've seen 2 things. It says that if, a couple of people have said, and I'm paraphrasing, I think I'm going to say it correctly. Hopefully I do. And it's that if they could be the dad, then the women saying about pregnancy, if they could take on the dad role, then they would be all for childbirth or having a child. So I get that. I totally get that because the dads can sort of go off and do what they want to do. Whether they chip in and help with the, providing financially for the kid, or they cannot choose not to and just go off and do whatever they want. But the mother has to stay there, or wherever she goes, the child has to go. So, yeah. And the other thing was, men want children like puppies, or like kids want puppies. Men want children like children want puppies. Meaning it's cute. The puppy is cute. I want it, and I will do a few things to keep this puppy. I'll love on it a little bit, feed it and all the other stuff. But the majority of the work is probably going to fall on the parents of the kids, or the puppy. It's gonna, the parents are going to have to take on the responsibility of making sure the dog is fed, walked, all those things. And naturally that would happen because the child, it's a child wanting a puppy. But, the adults, they're going to have to do, ensure this, because children are going to be children. You know what I mean? So I get that. I get that frame of thought, if you will. I get that because it's like men can, they can say all day long that they want kids, but women are the ones who have to go through the pregnancy. They have to go through the pregnancy. They have to have the baby. Their body changes, all that type of stuff. And it just is what it is. It just is what it is. I'm sorry, but it is. Actually, I'm not sorry, but it just is what it is, and that's how I feel. Debate me if you want, just keep it respectful. And again, I'm not saying that it's all men, because there are a lot of great fathers out there. I happen to know a couple, but on the same token, there are a bunch of men who believe that just solely providing financials for a kid is all that matters. And that's not the case at all. So, yeah. Anyway, moving on. So, number 6. For the people who believe that simply having a kid just so you can pass on your lineage, or your name, that's not a good enough reason, in my opinion, to have a kid. Because it's like, what other reason do you have to have a kid? And of course, it's your right to, procreate and have a kid. But just because you can procreate, just because you have the ability to do so, doesn't mean you should. Because there's a lot of parents out there who definitely should not have kids. They just should not. So just because you can do it doesn't mean you should. And, simply just wanting to, pass on your name, for men anyway. If a man were to, if a man is saying that should be a red flag. That should be a loud, flashing red flag. Bright neon red, if that's even a thing. Red flag for you. I'm just being straight up. It should be, you should proceed with caution with that. Because that's the type of person, or that's the type of man who will get you pregnant just to get you pregnant. And just so they can keep you in their life, basically. And keep you on a certain level, basically, where you always have to deal with them. Because no matter what, if you're with that person or not, they still have to be in your life because you all have a kid. You'll still be attached to them in some way, shape, or form. So I would definitely tread lightly with that. So anyway, yeah. Also, just because you have kids and your intention is to have kids simply for the purpose of having someone to take care of you in old age, that is also a silly reason. Because there's no guarantee that your kid will be around, number one, to take care of you. And number two is that, it's not a guarantee that they will want to take care of you. Because there are so many people right now, a lot of men, a lot of men more so than women, who are in, what is it called? End of life care or whatever, nursing homes, who have children, but their children never come and see them. Never come see them, do not take care of them, all the things. And they're, women too, but it's not a guarantee that they will do that, if that makes sense. I've heard so many cases, where people will have kids and the kids won't even come see their parents. You know what I mean? And they just sort of write them off, and that's the whole main purpose as to why they are actually in the nursing home or in the life care, So yeah, that doesn't just solidify a plan. That's not a plan. You need to prepare for that type of thing. You know what I mean? So yeah. Also, some people get legacy and lineage confused. Legacy is what you do. Is what is the mark that you leave on or in this world. So, if you're making the money, or you're setting up the nest egg, you're leaving that legacy, or you're building that legacy for, not only for yourself as an individual, but for your potential family. Your lineage is, your bloodline or whatever. So I think people can confuse the two, and they need to get clear on the two subjects. So yeah. Yeah. And even then, again, having kids solely to leave a legacy for them, there are no guarantees with that. Yeah, you can leave that legacy for them, but you can have kids who tarnish that legacy. You know what I mean? You have those kids, they tarnish your whole legacy. They blow, if it's money that you're leaving them within your legacy, houses, all that stuff, they can blow through that money, do all the things. And again, a lot of these are hypothetical situations, but it's hypothetical also to assume that just because you have kids that they'll protect you or take care of you in old age. That makes no sense. So yeah. It's just a pet peeve of mine. Sorry. Like, it's a pet peeve of mine when people give that reason for that. It annoys me. Sorry. It just really does. Anyway, moving on. My number 7 reason, and I'm trying to wrap this up. I didn't want this to be a long video, but I kind of had a feeling it would be because, yeah. But I only have 2 more points to make. So if you stuck around this long, thank you so much. Consider liking the video if you think it's helpful, or you think that other people want to watch it and get something out of it. Share it. Consider subscribing to the channel, because I will be doing more on this particular topic, but I'll also be discussing different topics as well. Just to get myself out there, because I'm trying to do better with not only creating memories for myself, but also get better at public speaking, because I have a lot to say. And I want to add my 2 cents in there too. Not that anybody asked, and that's totally fine, but also I have my opinions and I want to share them and connect with other people who are of like mind, and even those who are not of like mind. If they want to contribute to the conversation, that's also great. Okay, so moving on, and I'm gonna wrap this up. Number 7, I enjoy being able to go or come and go freely. So I value my time, my me time. When you have a kid, you have to consider all things. You have to consider everything, especially if you're the mother, because like I said, most of the responsibility for raising a child falls on the mother 9 times out of 10. So me being a woman, if I had a kid, the responsibility will fall on me solely. So that means I would have to make sure the kid eats, make sure the kid gets to school, make sure, the kid gets takes care of their hygiene, make sure they get to bed on time, make sure all the things. Okay. And I simply, especially dealing with this current climate, politically, I don't want to do that. Okay. Like, I just don't want to do all that. It's just too much responsibility for me, especially if I'm going to be doing it alone. Okay. Yeah, it's just not for me. And I think I mentioned earlier, I'm comfortable in the role of auntie, big cousin, big sis. I'm comfortable in that role. Okay. And that's the only role that I will take. Yeah, that's the only role I would take. Now I'm still on the fence of, having kids, but if I get to a certain age and a place where I'm comfortable financially for myself, then I would consider adopting, because there are plenty of children in the foster care system who need parents, and who should have a home. You know what I mean? And I also think, because I believe the age when foster children, they age out of the foster care system is 18, I believe. I believe that number, that cutoff should be higher, because children or teenagers, like, you're not fully developed mentally as an adult until after the age of 25. So I feel like that cutoff should be 25, in my opinion. I strongly feel that. I feel like the age should be raised to 25. That's just me. Anyway, so yeah, number 8, and the last final point, unless I think of something else. Having a baby is expensive as hell. Okay. And I mean, it's already expensive just being a, one adult, or, if you're in married like I am, just for 2 people, it's expensive. So why then would you want, I don't want to say why would you want to bring a child into that, but I feel that way. But also, there are some people who have the means it takes to take care of a kid. So I'm not talking about them. If you, this, my gripe with this is not with those who are financially in a place to where it doesn't even, it's not even a thought. They have the means in which to take care of their kids. So I'm firmly speaking to people who believe that having a kid, number one, in this political climate, is a good thing, which I don't feel that it is. But that's a whole different thing. But on top of that, if you don't even have the means to take care of the kid, then that is a big problem for me. Because it's like, why would you subject a kid to, being in this world and you can't even take care of yourself, hardly. So, and that's a lot of the argument that I see, or part of the argument that I see other people who discuss this topic is, how expensive kids are, as well as, the parents, if you will, not being, barely making ends meet, and trying to bring a kid in the world, like actively trying to bring kids into this, or bringing kids in this world, like, and I'm speaking about the people who constantly get pregnant. Like, you can do whatever you want with your body. I'm not saying that if you want to have kids, by all means, do what you want. But I just I don't see the logic in doing that when you already struggle to take care of yourself. So how then do you believe that by you having multiple kids, that you'll be able to take care of them too? Because especially nowadays, because they're stripping, they've already done away with the food stamps or whatever, or I don't know if they necessarily yeah, I think that they did. I don't know. I have to go back and look. But anyway, all I know is a lot of people lost their food stamps and their other the other programs that they have to assist mothers who have kids and all that other stuff. So that's something to think about, I feel. I don't know why, especially if you're a single mother, like, why would you even want to do that? I fail to see the logic in it. I really do. But anyway, so those are all my points. I think I have one more point, and it's going back to number 5, which is most of the responsibility being put on the mother. Even when you're married and you have kids, and like I said, the majority of the responsibility falls on the mother. A lot of times in those situations, the woman, if she's a stay-at-home mom, and even if she isn't a stay-at-home mom and she works as well, she still is going to be expected to come home from her job that she's probably worked 30 to 40, hours, and probably even longer, depending on what it is she does. She's worked the same amount of hours as the husband, or more, or even less. It doesn't matter. She's still going to have to come home and tend to the house, and tend to the kids, and tend to her husband, right? So she's doing all this stuff, but all the man has to worry about is going to work. But he don't have to worry about doing anything around the house or raising the kids much. He's a fun dad because he only comes in and he does fun things with the kids. So, and again, I'm not saying that all husbands do this, but it's a large number of them who do. So that's why it's a problem. It's enough stories of this happening, enough women getting online crying about how they're overwhelmed and, they can't do it alone, whether they are a stay-at-home mom or not. They have to do all this stuff. And another thing, again, I promise I'm going to wrap this up. A lot of men also, this is why I believe, if I were a woman, well, I am a woman. If I were these women, is what I meant to say, who are considering having a baby, or who are married and, you know, the man, her husband, is really wanting a baby, I would get clear on, before the baby even comes, I would get clear on what, you know, your expectations and boundaries are. Because, and what he expects as well, because, you know, and again, a lot of that can change too, because they can say, oh, well, I'll do this and I'm gonna make sure to do this and blah, blah, blah. I'll do this, I'll do that, I'll be there, blah, blah, blah. And they will completely do a complete, they will have been faking their entire personality. They completely change. It's like Dr. Jekyll or Mr. Hyde, or however you say it. You know, it's a whole different ball game. You know what I mean? Like they completely change, and it's almost as overnight, like, you know, but they fake their entire personality up until the time the baby comes, and now it's like the woman is doing all the crap doing all the raising herself. You know, a lot of too many men out here believe that they're babysitting their own child when they're, you know, when they, you know, get them or look after them. You're not babysitting. That's your kid. That's your responsibility. That's your duty. So yeah, I'm gonna wrap it up here. And again, like I said, I will probably come back and discuss this topic a little bit more. What do you think? You know, if you are looking at this video, chime in. Let me know what you think. Hopefully I don't ruffle too many feathers. That was not my intention, but this is just a way to open up a dialogue on my channel, and just see what people are thinking. Are you child free? You know, or if not, do you agree with the child free sort of movement? Or let me say this. You know, if you are child free, what are your reasons as to why? Are they similar to mine, or are they different? And have you always been this way? So yeah, let me know down in the comments. Again, like the video if you thought it was, you know, informative or helpful, or just you were entertained by it, whatever. And dislikes are fine. I don't care. I'm just doing this to, like I said, create memories, put myself out of my comfort zone more, and just be creative and create stuff. That's what I'm trying to do. Anyway, bye y'all. Have a good night.